Hello, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to go back in time to 2011 because in that year season 3 of RuPaul's Drag Race had aired. And in this video we're going to be answering the question, what would have happened if I was the main judge? Just before we get started, if you enjoy watching my videos, please consider subscribing because it really helps me out and I would really appreciate that. Now, let's begin. So I'm going to skip the casting special, since it wasn't a competitive episode, and for that reason I'll jump right into episode 2, which was the design challenge. As you can see, I already made some changes. But let's start from the tops. Raja originally won this challenge, which was obviously correct. Her look was really chic and well made, so she was the correct winner. Manila Luzon was in the top originally, and she is still in the top here, since her look was also strong. However, the other high spot originally went to Mimi Im first. She was in the top wearing this. I do not understand why they decided to put her high, and I completely don't agree. There's too much going on, and it's not a top-worthy look. Honestly, in my opinion, she should have been in the bottom to this episode. Venus Delight was originally in the bottom, and she went home this episode. However, I don't think she deserved to be in the bottom. Her look was, I would say, pretty safe. She looked good, and I definitely think she did better than Mimi, Carmen, and Shanji. Speaking of Shanji, I know that many allegations against her came out, and I just want you to know I absolutely do not support some things she's done. But I'm gonna judge her only based of how she did on the season. So yeah, she is still going to be in the bottom because her look was not great. Sewing is just not her thing. Carmen was low originally, and I did not change that because her look was really simple and honestly not great. Her body always looks good, but we are judging the look, and the look itself is not really good. Mimi and Shanji are going to be lip-syncing to the song The Right Stuff by Vanessa Williams, and I think Shanji would be able to beat Mimi, which means in this timeline Mimi Im first is going to be the pork chop of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 3. Listen, I hope you know that I did not eliminate Mimi because she was annoying, but only because I did not like her look and I truly think she deserved to be in the bottom over Venus. By the way, Mimi Im first is one of the best drag names I've ever heard, do you agree? Okay. Let's move on to episode 3, which was the acting challenge. They were split into teams and had to act in sci-fi movie spoofs. Here we have Venus Delight over Mimi Im first, so I decided to put Venus on Team Mariah because Mimi was there originally. This challenge was judged in teams, and I decided not to change that. Team Mariah did much better, so it isn't a surprise that they are still going to be in the top. Alexis Mateo and Shanji won this challenge together, and I do think it was deserved. Both of them did great as the twins, and giving them both the win makes sense. Mariah, Stacy, Venus, and Yara are going to be high, and from the losing team, Raja, Manila, and Carmen are going to be safe, which leaves India, Phoenix, and Delta in the bottom 3. Originally, India was safe and Carmen was low, but in my opinion, Carmen gave a bit more energy than India, and for that reason I decided to keep Carmen safe and India low. Delta and Phoenix are still going to be lip-syncing against each other, since they were the weakest. The lip-sync song this episode was Bad Romance by Lady Gaga, and to be honest with you, I think this lip-sync was really close. Both of them did a good job, and they could have justified any of them staying. Delta Work ended up winning the lip-sync, and I kept her as the winner, so unfortunately Phoenix is still going to go home this episode. She didn't last long, however I really liked Phoenix, and I still do. I am really happy she came back for All Stars 10, and I was hoping for her to do well. I'm happy they didn't hide the fact that she is an icon, because that is 100% true. You don't have to be good at Drag Race to be a great drag queen. We have to say goodbye to Phoenix, and it is time for the Advert Challenge. So here I also made some changes. Originally, the win went to Alexis Mateo, which I personally don't agree with. She did fine, I would say, but some queens did a bit better. Yara Sofia and Stacey Lane Matthews killed this challenge, and it was a close call, but I decided to give the win to Yara since she was so unhinged and funny in the best way possible. Delta Work originally was safe, but I decided to put her high with Stacey since she also had a really strong performance. As for the bottoms, Mariah Paris Balenciaga was low originally. I kept her low here as well. It wasn't really her night, but she definitely did better than India. Venus Delight is still in the game in this timeline, and, to be honest with you, I have no clue how well would she do, but I don't see her succeeding. And for that reason I put her in the bottom 2 with India. India would most likely send Venus home, so we have to say goodbye to Venus Delight, but this time she made it a bit further than originally. Now it is time for the episode 4, which was the improv challenge. Here I completely don't agree with Manila's win. I think she was overall okay in the challenge, but many queens did in my opinion better than her. Shanji did a really good job, and I believe she was the only queen who placed high this episode besides Manila, which was strange. But yeah, I think she should have won, and I also think Raja and Yara did a really good job in this challenge, so they're gonna be high. Mariah being low makes sense. She tried her best, and she wasn't terrible, but she wasn't as good as some of the others, so she is still gonna be low. Originally in the bottom 2 we had Stacey Lane Matthews and India Farah, but I completely don't agree with Stacey lip-syncing. I think she was really funny and did a good job, so I decided to put her safe. When she said, "Yara Safira, I died." Yeah, I think she did good, and the queen who I think should have been lip-syncing against India was Carmen. She just said her line, and it was a bit flat if I'm being honest. Mariah also did not do great, but you can tell she really tried and gave more energy. The lip-sync song this episode was Meeting in a Ladies' Room. I think Carmen would be able to beat India, which means she gets to stay, and we have to say goodbye to India. So, the next episode was the Snatch Game, and this is I believe the first episode where I did not change a single placement. To be honest with you, this Snatch Game was very middle of the road. Stacey and Raja did great, and Alexis Mateo was clearly the third best. I agree with Stacey winning, and Raja and Alexis in the top also makes sense. Yara is still going to be low. We did not see much of her. I was considering putting Manila or Carmen as low, but I think Yara was the correct choice. Yara was trying her best, and I would say she was funny, but she wasn't giving Amy Winehouse, and I also agree with her being in the bottom 3. Unfortunately, Mariah Paris Balenciaga flopped, and I was really sad since she was one of my favorite queens this season. Delta's performance also wasn't great. You can tell she was really trying, but it just wasn't it. That means we have the same bottom 2 as originally. Delta ended up beating Mariah in the lip sync, which I do agree with, so unfortunately we have to say goodbye to Mariah Balenciaga. Mariah successful, and we'll be moving on to the next episode, which was a design challenge. So, here I pretty much agree with the results. Raja yet again slated, so she is still gonna take the win. Manila was a close second, so she is gonna be high, and the second high spot I decided to give to Yara Sofia, since the dress she made was also stunning. The placements this episode were a bit weird, since 4 queens were in the top and 4 in the bottom, but I decided to put 3 queens in the top and 3 in the bottom as usual. Delta and Shanji are going to be safe, which leaves Carmen, Stacey, and Alexis in the bottom 3. Alexis was the weakest this week, but between Stacey and Carmen, I would agree with any of them taking the other bottom 2 spot. I kept Carmen low, which means Stacey is going to be lip-syncing against Alexis to the song called Knock on Wood. Alexis Mateo absolutely destroyed that lip-sync. She is such a good performer, and there's no doubt she won. Unfortunately, that means we have to say goodbye to Stacey Lane Matthews. Let me tell you, she was my personal favorite queen from this season. She was really sweet, and I wanted her to make it to the finals. It didn't happen, but she still did really good, and even won the challenge. So, now it's time for a stand-up challenge. It's impossible not to give Shanji the win. I mean, she was hands down the funniest and definitely deserved to win. Originally, 3 queens were high this episode, but I decided to keep Raja safe. She did very well, I'm not denying that, however it seems like they cut out so much of her stuff since she was on stage for like 50 seconds. As I said, she did do a really good job, but I think Yara and Carmen did a bit better. Yara is so unhinged and funny. I just love this woman. This character she played was freaking hilarious, and the McDonald's joke was maybe even my favorite joke of the night. As for Carmen, this was Carmen's best episode of the season. She was really funny, and in my opinion her reveal worked well, and I didn't see it coming, even though she was wearing a huge coat. Manila, Alexis, and Delta were definitely the weakest. Overall, Alexis's skit was better than Manila's and Delta's, so she is going to be low, as she was originally, and Delta is still going to be lip-syncing against Manila. I think we can all agree Manila absolutely destroyed that lip-sync. Season 3 had many great and memorable lip-syncs, and this one is definitely one of them. Manila wins, which means we have to say goodbye to Delta, and it is time for the advert challenge. They had to film a patriotic message addressed to U.S. military personnel overseas, and I was confused whether they were supposed to be funny or serious, but I guess both. Alexis Mateo ended up winning the challenge, and I mean, she destroyed it, and there was no other contender for the win this episode. No one even came close to Alexis's PSA. It was really successful. Now, originally only Shanji was high, and both Manila and Raja were low, which I totally disagree with. I think Manila did really good, and I found her PSA to be really funny. Especially when she slept with Statue of Liberty. So yeah, it was a good night for her in my opinion. So Manila and Shanji are going to be high, which leaves Carmen, Raja, and Yara in the bottom 3. None of them did good if I'm being honest, but Raja's was the least bad, plus on the runway she did really good, so her being low makes sense. Carmen did okay on the runway, but in the challenge she was probably the worst, and Yara was second worst in the challenge, but on the runway she turned it. But yeah, Yara's amazing runway wasn't enough to save her from lip-syncing, so she is going to be performing against Carmen to the song Mickey. Originally, they both got saved and no one went home, but I decided to keep Yara and send Carmen home. In my opinion, Yara definitely won that lip-sync. I didn't like when Carmen went to the judges' table. It works sometimes, but here Yara stole the show, so I think she should stay. We have to say goodbye to Carmen, and we will be moving on to the next episode. As you can see, I switched things up a little bit. Originally, it was a singing challenge, but since we already have only 5 queens left in the game, I decided to do the makeover now, and then the hairball. I said it a couple times already, and I'll say it again, I do not like makeovers in general, especially when someone is getting eliminated. Now I'm just going to do the top 2 lip-syncing for the win. So here we have Shanji, and the question is how well would she do? I don't really know, however I don't see her doing better than Alexis and Manila, so I decided to keep her safe alongside Raja and Yara. Manila originally won the challenge, which was completely deserved. She really slayed it. Her looks were beautiful and the makeup as well. Originally both Alexis and Yara were high for this challenge, but between those two, Alexis hands down did better, so she is taking the other top 2 spot. Manila and Alexis are going to be lip-syncing to the song Straight Up, and I think both of them would put up a really good fight, but I still gave the win to Manila Luzon. So we still have 5 queens left in the game, and now it is time for the hairball. Season 3 had 3 balls, which was insane, but this time we won't have a money ball since after the hairball we are already at the top 4, so I decided to do a singing challenge. Because 2 balls in a row is definitely not a good idea. And let's face it, it was hands down too much, and I'm sure they were all exhausted. In this challenge, Yara originally snatched the win, and to be honest with you, this was the hardest decision to make. I just didn't know who should have won, since both Raja and Yara knocked it out of the park. You can make an argument for any of them winning, however personally, I would give the win to Raja. They were almost tied in every single category, but Raja's final look stole my heart. Not to say Yara didn't do great, because she also smashed it and definitely deserved her win. It was also a strong night for Manila Luzon, so she is also going to be high, which leaves Alexis Mateo and Shanji in the bottom 2. They were clearly the weakest this episode. The lip-sync song this episode was Even Angels by Fantasia. Shanji has a better track record than Alexis up to this point, however you cannot deny that Alexis Mateo definitely won that lip-sync. She was really feeling it and her performance was just beautiful. Also, Shanji took her wig off, which I really didn't like. So we have to say goodbye to Shanji, and we have the same top 4 as originally, and in this timeline, the last challenge before the finale will be a singing challenge. Now listen, I really wanted to do the final 3 as it was originally, however I rewatched the episode, and they freaking demolished this challenge. Yara was clearly the least good here, however throughout the season she proved she deserves to go all the way. And no, I'm not doing the top 2 episode only to save Yara. I just couldn't decide who would be in the bottom 2, and literally none of them deserves to go home, so why not just let all of them make it to the finals? So yeah, I decided to put Manila and Raja in the top 2. It was very close between those two and Alexis, but personally I think they did just a tiny bit better. They're going to be lip-syncing to Believe by Cher, and I still gave the win to Raja. This is just guessing, both of them are really good lip-syncers, so it could go either way. So now, let's move on to the finale. So, in the finale, they had to participate in the filming of the music video for RuPaul's song, Champion. I'm gonna cut 2 queens, and the final 2 will lip-sync for the crown. Originally, Alexis Mateo got cut, which I do agree with. Manila and Raja did better than her in my opinion, so it makes sense. But now the question is, how well would Yara do? I think she would do well, however I decided to keep Raja and Manila as the top 2, which unfortunately means we have to say goodbye to Yara Sofia and Alexis Mateo. Now it is time to reveal the winner. The winner of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 3 is Raja. I think many people expected Raja to win the season, but it was incredibly close between her and Manila. In this scenario, it was not as close as originally, but it's partly because I got rid of the Moneyball challenge, which Manila won. As Mariah Paris Balenciaga would say, congratulations, Raja. And what do you think? Did you enjoy watching Season 3, and do you agree with the changes I made? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.